Hello everyone, welcome to a new video from me, Speardrops. We're covering the semi-finals of Euro 2024. It is England versus the Netherlands. It is Spain versus France. It should be crackers. I would recommend subscribing to my channel because not only after this will we have the finals video after the semis are done, we'll also have fantasy football content for the new FPL season as well. So make sure you're subscribed. Without further ado, let's get into the goalkeepers. In goal, I've added a new stat for you here. You can see we've got opposition's expected goals per 90, which is as it sounds, right? It's the opposition of that goalkeeper's average expected goals scored per 90 in the tournament. So for England, for an example, you're seeing Netherlands. For France, you're seeing Spain's, right? And as you can see here, there's quite a contrast between them. England's is very, very low, almost, more than a half less than a couple of the teams there. However, their defense is very good. And the flip side is true for the Netherlands, where they're significantly worse in terms of the defensive underliers. But offensively, they're actually pretty decent. As usual with this one, pick one from each game. Okay, so pick Pickford or Verbruggen and Maignan or Simon, because they're playing on alternate days. So don't pick two from the same day. At least make sure you have one playing keeper. Okay, my recommendations here are Jordan Pickford and Mike Maignan because they have the best defensive stats, and arguably they're in the slightly stronger team historically in the past, 5-10 years or so, I would say, maybe 6 to 8 years. You can also use this stat as well for the defenders as well. So you might want to say, okay, I'm considering Dutch defenders. What's England's attack like? Come back to this one and pause it. I know it's 1.45. Okay. Speaking of defenders, here are your defenders with Theo Hernandez down there in the bottom left. Again, I've ordered these in kind of what I would prefer for those fixtures. So England over Netherlands, France over Spain in terms of the defense at least. And as you can see here, there's quite a lot to pick from. We have the English assets. Gehi should come back in for Konsa. Konsa had a very good game, but Gehi's been England's player of the tournament. I expect him to come straight back in. Trippier should keep playing. I have no idea why he's playing right-footed right back, Kieran Trippier at left wing back, and left-footed right forward, Saka at right wing back. Why not just flip them round? Anyway, that's Southgate. But I do mention that because it kind of hinders their attacking potential for both Saka and Trippier. But Trippier is still one of the best assets offensively for England there. We also have John Stones and Walker, which are, again, very poor attacking stats, but nailed pretty much for England. And you can't really go wrong in picking them for minutes, at least. Next up on the list, Denzel Dumfries returns. He returns after being vacant the past few ones because of him getting dropped for some reason. The Netherlands are a much better side with him in it, and he provides a lot of threat going forward and a lot of solidity defensively, in my opinion. I think he's a great pick. There's always that slim chance he gets rotated. But I mean, if Coman wants to win the tournament, then I don't see why. I just don't see why you wouldn't play him. The other ones are much more nailed. As you can see, Ake actually has the worst minutes of the players so far. Though Denzel Dumfries did get dropped for one, I didn't include his drop game. He didn't get any minutes, so maybe it was just a rotation thing. XGI stats are pretty similar across the board for Van Dijk, De Vrij, and Ake. De Vrij has just gone slightly up after his goal, of course, so congrats if you had him in. I think I had every Netherlands defender except De Vrij, so yeah, not great that one. Yeah, so I think that both sides there are actually pretty good to pick from. England are a good side to pick from because arguably Netherlands are the weakest side left in the tournament, and English defence, for the most part, has been the best other than the French defence. On the flip side of that, though, England have the worst attack left in the tournament by quite a distance. So in terms of that, maybe you want to gamble on the Netherlands. But as I would say, only pick one. You can spread risk if you want and just go for attacking assets and defence, like a Trippier, Dumfries, Koundé, Hernandez, Cucurella, or something like that. But I would recommend trying to pick the ones you think will go through. Okay. The French defenders are next. We have Jules Koundé and Theo Hernandez. Both prime picks, both really good picks. We can't really go wrong. We've already spoke about them already many times. The only issue is they're facing the strongest attack. So it's the strongest defense versus the strongest attack. Okay. Upamecano and Saliba are there for bonus picks and just to show you their statistics as well, including recoveries and XGI per 90. And then we have the Spanish defense. Spanish defense is actually pretty good, but they play France, who, you know, maybe one of the strongest teams left in the tournament. And they have Dani Carvajal banned, and also have Norman as I call him, is also out for the semi-final. This is why I haven't included Nacho either, because I do think there's just too much risk with Nacho's rotation in the final. I appreciate I've got Navas on there, who will drop out for Carvajal if he comes back in. But Navas carries significant threat, as you can see there. So if you want safety for Spain and someone in the final, if they get through, it's Cucurella and Laporte and Simon. But there's also Navas there for, you know, if you want a spicy differential pick going into the semi-finals, he is there as a big differential, I would say. Lots to choose from there for the defenders. On to the midfielders. And this is a place in this UEFA Euro 2024 fantasy game where I will say to the designers and devs of this, hire me, right? Because I would help. I was going to say I'd do a better job, but you can't say something like that. I would help improve this game because some of these forwards you classify as forwards, they're wingers, right? You don't need to put them as forwards. So players like Griezmann, Dembele, Yamal, Depay, they could have been included as midfielders, and then we'd have had so many more options in both midfield and attack, because we already have way too many strikers to pick from, okay? Anyway, I digress. As a result of this, this is my next segue, we don't have much midfielders to pick from. We don't have many midfielders to pick from at all, really. The only really viable attacking ones here are Bellingham, Williams, Ruiz, and Simmons. All the rest of them there either are massively underperforming or very defensive. Massively underperforming in Foden's case, or very defensive in Rodri, Reinders, and Kante's case. Kante is literally the only French midfielder in the game who's even potentially viable, and you can see here an XG of 0.03 means, you know, you're going to have to really like N'Golo Kante or France's chance of getting into the final to want to pick him there. So I just included him because he literally is the only French pick from their midfield, because they kind of messed up on the positionings of those. But you know where to find me, UEFA, if you want to hire me for this in the future. Yeah, so let's talk about England. England's attack still sucks. Some of the commentators were saying the new system works and stuff. I mean, anything would have been an improvement on the old system, and it kind of fell apart towards the end when he made changes. He also kind of got things the wrong way around, as I said earlier, with Saka and Trippier being the wrong way around. I really don't understand that at all. Just play Saka on the left, Trippier on the right, or Trent on the right. It makes a lot more sense. I don't understand why Trent wasn't playing either if he's going to play right wing back. But here we are. If you want English midfield assets, these are your picks. Bellingham and Saka carry the most threat and assist threat. Foden is just kind of there in the team at the minute, and he is in a position where he could return. But the subs look much more threatening than him in the very few minutes they have, you know, Eze, Palmer, Tony. But we can't pick them because they're subs. But Foden's there. For those of you who are Phil Foden fans, I think he's been rubbish this tournament. And I think he has to be subbed off because he didn't want to take a penalty. Allegedly. I'm not saying that. Allegedly, there's something on Twitter about that. I'm not saying that. We also have the Spain picks here. So we have Williams of Spain, who is a threat. He is an actual attacking player, unlike the English assets here, who don't seem to attack that much. An attacking player with attacking stats, who looks good on the ball. Ruiz is more central, but provides threat. He's got good minutes. He's got a good price. Rodri, very defensive, but since he's underlined, as you can see, he takes penalties. Yeah, so I actually think Rodri, he's fine. Again, if it's one of those where if you fancy Spain to go through, maybe you include him, but I wouldn't personally because he's too defensive. And I don't think he's going to score from open play again unless he gets one of those random chances. The Netherlands, again, Xavi Simons, because of the way they've structured the game, they've got about 18 strikers and then Xavi Simons in midfield in the UEFA game. So we've got Xavi Simons we can pick, basically. I'm sure some of you still have him from the last round. And Reinders, the reindeer. His stats actually aren't that bad. But if you go and look at some of his past stats, I think I replied to one of you guys' comments about him because a few of you asked. His returns for his club side have not been very good. They've not been very impressive. But again, he is there. He is there if you want him, if you fancy Netherlands to go through. And finally, the little fella we all love, N'Golo Kante. He's not an attacker. He does find himself in advanced positions, which he did. I think he had that strange season at Chelsea where Sarri played him more advanced for some reason. But he's not an attacker. He's in his prime, one of the best ball-winning midfielders in the world. He's not an attacker, though, really. But he is in those positions for France right now. As you can see, it's very slim pickings for midfield. My summary here is Bellingham, Saka, Williams, Ruiz, and Simons are your most attacking players here. But you should also consider who you think will go through and trust your gut. Midfield's probably the hardest place to predict because it's just so slim on the ground here. Strikers are next, and we have Harry Kane at the top. He looked injured against, maybe it was Kane who asked, I don't know who asked to get, it was on Twitter, there's rumours going around that Foden was asked to come off. Maybe it was a confidence thing, I don't know. But again, that was all alleged. Kane also came off and didn't take a penalty, and came off pretty early for his standards anyway. And he just doesn't look on it this tournament. Maybe he's played too much football, because we know Harry Kane wants to play football and wants to score and wants to take penalties, but it just doesn't look on it this tournament. But as you can see, neither does Mbappe. And to be fair to Mbappe, he's had that injury, and maybe it's knocked his confidence a bit. Or maybe, I know he's commented saying he hates the mask and he doesn't like playing with the mask. So I think both those players are feeling a little off right now, but it's understandable, to be honest with you. They've both played a tremendous amount of football. Yes, but they're the talismans for two of the strongest teams left in the tournament. They take penalties for them, as you can see. And the stats actually aren't that bad, but they're not that impressive either. Two new picks here come in, and as I said, if they were classed as midfielders, they'd be right up there, but they're not. So they're not classed very high on my predictions anyway, and that is Antoine Griezmann and Ousmane Dembele. As you can see, their minutes are not very good. Their stats are actually pretty good, to be honest with you. I think both their stats in total, their XGI is actually better than Kane's and Mbappe's, the non-penalty XGI. So if you have an inkling that one of these is going to do well, you know, go for it. It's the semi-final, and these are two big differentials. My issue here is that you could easily pick both of them and then both get benched. You could pick one of them and that particular one will get benched. So I am giving you that caution that there is the chance of a benching from picking these, but they also arguably play a defense which could be much leakier because they have to bring in Navas and Nacho. Okay. So I could see, you know, the French attack getting at the Spanish defense finally, but the French haven't scored. I think they've got, is it no goals from 8 expected open goal play, something like that. So they're due. They're certainly due. Yeah, and those are interesting picks up there. The issue is, as I said, we already have three talisman forwards who take penalties, and that's not even including Yamal, who doesn't take penalties, but obviously there. Speaking of talisman forwards taking penalties, Cody Gakpo. Again, he's done so well this tournament. You could easily put him in the team of the tournament for this one. There's no reason not to really drop him, but I suppose if you want to gamble on England, then maybe you would consider that. His stats are still good. Memphis Depay, again, probably should be classed as a midfielder. And his stats have been pretty good too, with less minutes and less output, and doesn't have penalties though. So again, more of a differential to Gakpo if you're chasing. And then lastly, we have the Spanish attack. Lamine Yamal, or Yamin Lamal. Lamine Yamal. Great stats, as you can see. Fantastic stats, fantastic price. Good minutes now as well. Issue is he's playing the best defense. Okay, that is an issue. But if you're working on the eye test and you're understanding of football, Yamal looks really good this tournament, and he looks really confident. And he's arguably, you know, the biggest spark in terms of attacking prowess of this tournament, you could say. And then we have the man who seemingly seems to play for every decently sized club in each league, in each new season, is Alvaro Morata. Makes the list again. Again, he's a differential. I had to include him because he's starting forward for one of the teams, and I just wanted to include him to show him his stats. He's not going to be in my team because I think he's one of the weakest picks in isolation, and he's against the strongest defense. But maybe you fancy Spain to unlock that French defense. So that's why I've included him to show you his stats. Okay. On to this next little part here now. The fixture predictions. I know they were pretty room temperature predictions, but they came through, which is good. Semis, that's my prediction for the semis. Spain to beat France and Netherlands to beat England. It could very easily go the other way though, because England could play their very negative, you know, defensive football and just nick a goal again, as they have all tournament. France could do the same, but with higher quality and more organization. My only worry for Spain is those two bans that they have, in which case they're slightly weakened, right? But France's attack aren't firing. Spain's attack is. Spain's defense isn't the greatest, but France's defense is. So it's really difficult to call that one. Yeah, it's really, really difficult to call that one. Netherlands just look a bit sharper going forward. That's why I've picked them. And I don't know if England can keep riding this look that they are riding right now. It still doesn't look like a functional team. And I have very, very little confidence in them from open play. Yes, they've done well on penalties, but open play, it's not good, not a good watch. But hey, I do hope they go through. These are just my predictions. Very easily they could change now. I feel like the quarters were a lot easier to predict than these. So let's see how it goes. As usual, my final thoughts. Oh, sorry, yeah, just a segue here. If you have both chips left, which you shouldn't, but if you do, unlimited is best now because you need 15 players for the semis, and then wildcard in the final. If you're thinking about unlimited, if you have one of the chips left, I would probably wait till the final out, potentially, purely because when the teams are released before the final, you'll see all the teams, whilst with the semis, you're only going to see 2 of the teams, okay? So if you have one chip left, I'd maybe consider waiting for the final. If it's an unlimited, it makes sense to maybe go with the semis. But yeah, it's time to use them up anyway. But if you've got any more questions about that or comments, let me know. I'll be sure to reply. Just a reminder of the rules as well. We have 4 transfers left, 4 transfers for this particular round for the semis, and we can have 6 players from each team. So again, my recommendation to you is to maximize the teams that you fancy and that you have a gut feeling on. Okay, you don't have to follow my picks. Sorry, the teams I think will win. You know, I would really back the teams that you have a lot of players in, and it fits your team correctly, or vice versa, right? For example, I have more English players than Netherlands, so even though I've predicted the Netherlands to go through, I'll likely have more English players in my side. Yeah. What else was I going to mention? Did you also have 3 picks left because you can only you have 15, 2 teams of 12. You have 3 picks left, and that's where you can go like, you know, a Yamal, Simmons, and a Gakpo or something like that. If you were betting on England and Spain or something. Another reminder: use your chips now. Plus, in the final, we do all get 5 free transfers, and there's only 11 players playing because it's only on one day and one match, of course. Hence why I'm saying it's better to use your chips now if you can. 2 captains, so pick 1 on each day, and make sure you try and have an alternate keeper on each day as well, with at least 3 outfield players playing on the alternate day. Another question I'll be sure to get in the comments, which I'm having thoughts about, is, and I already kind of reviewed before the video, was if you don't have 15 playing players, should you take a hit? My recommendation is no, because they would have to return more than 4 points for the hit to pay off. Because as long as you have 11, you should be okay. That's my advice to you. If you've got 11, if you can make a team of 11 with the 4 free transfers, that's great. Just go with that. Any hit you take is a big risk at this point. So I would only be taking hits if you can field less than 11 players. If you've got only 11 out of 15 and you have a bench of 4 players that are eliminated or injured or banned, that is fine. That is fine. For example, I've got Danny Carvajal on my bench. I'm not going to hit him out because I think Spain will go through, and then I'll be back next week anyway. Okay. But we're getting to the tail end now. I'm excited for the new FPL season. It should be pretty good. I hope they price it so it makes it a lot more difficult for everyone. It's been too easy with people, especially casuals, using AI tools and things like that. If they make the pricing structure more difficult, if they made us use all 15 players, it would make it more interesting as well. As we've seen with the Euros, it's more interesting when you do have 15 players playing. I think that it'd be healthier for the game, healthier for the growth of the game, and healthier for engagement, which is what the Premier League care about when it comes to this game, remember. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this is informative to you. I'll be doing a finals video, and then I'll be doing the first FPL video as well. I may do an England under Southgate video as well, so make sure you press subscribe. Well, it'll be down here, the subscribe button. I also stream on Twitch, which a few of you join me on. Gaming live streams, sometimes do a watch along. We did one for the Argentina game where Messi missed a penalty. I'm also on Twitter as well, and as usual, if you want to buy me a little something, you can check out throne.com/speardrops. All the best here. I'll see you for the final. Goodbye.